Hello, I'm Rebecca Wood from R.Wood Studio, and I want to welcome you to my beautiful garden I've been working on. So I'm going to talk about some of my concepts here as I go along and pick some things to make all the bouquets. So follow me and we'll go through the garden and pick some things. One of the concepts of Japanese Ikebana is you don't want to just get flowers and put them in a vase. You want them to arrange them to show their aliveness and their personality and their life force. You want the bouquet to resemble what you see out in nature. So to do that, you have to be out in nature, observing and seeing all the beauty that's there. Now, one thing about Japan is it's an island nation, so they're just mountains, beautiful valleys, and coastline, and they are surrounded with nature. Their whole history, they've been surrounded by nature. And they don't have any gold or copper, oil, coal, or anything like that that are, riches that people would extract and get all this wealth. They always just lived real simply in nature. Their island was not even open to Westerners till the late 1800s. So they have just always been living simply in nature with beautiful wood homes, appreciating the seasons. What they don't have in Japan is a lot of arable land, since it is all mountainous or coast. So that's why every scrap of land they're growing food on, since they're way out in the ocean. So you don't have these big English blousy flower gardens. The flowers that they had to deal with was either mountain wildflowers, and Japanese people love to hike up in the mountains. Old people hiking straight up those mountains and foraging for wild mushrooms and stuff. So they were familiar with the mountain wildflowers, and then on the lowlands, what they had was fruiting tree branches. That was pretty much what they had to work with, and that's why Ikebana is so sparse looking. But they appreciate every single thing in its season. They love it. And what I wanted to say about this is the kind of thing that you look for in Ikebana, this natural relationship of plants to each other. Like the way this morning glory is crawling up this old corn stalk here. If you're raised in an apartment, you probably would never see something like this to know how the plants interact. It's very important to expose yourself to nature if you really want to do Ikebana, because you have to study the plants, see how they grow, and see what looks natural for them so that you can make a natural looking arrangement. So this is a perfect example right here that I'm going to try to recreate inside with some Ikebana. Just a beautiful natural thing. Just this is, you could just cut it off right here and stick it in a vase and you would have an amazing thing to look at. The other thing about Ikebana is it's all about the transitory things in life. The beauty that's there one day and then gone, and it's a way of appreciating and honoring that beauty to bring it inside your house and put it in a vase where you can admire it and absorb its beauty and reflect on it. So we'll be doing this later inside. That is going to be beautiful. So what I'm going to do is put this in a vase, and I'm going to get some morning glories and try to make them wrap around there. That is what you call sculptural right there. And really in Ikebana, it's all about the sculptural aspects of a plant. It's not so much all about flowers. It's about leaves, branches, seed pods, buds, really anything, any part of the plant. Flowers are not the apex of civilization in Japanese flower arranging. It's all the whole life form and its whole life cycle is what you want to admire. Now this is a common weed right here, dog fennel, but it is so beautiful. It's always been a favorite of mine. It smells amazing. When I was little, I used to pretend like it's parsley. And A lot of times it'll stay up in a flower arrangement. Sometimes it'll tump over, but we're gonna try it because it's so cool. I'm gonna cut a couple of them in case they wilt on me. This is mahogany hibiscus, in case you've never seen it. It's gorgeous. And FYI, Japan has a lot the same growing zones as we do. It's zone 8, a lot of it. They have red clay, they have granite, they have puckberries, they have dogwoods. They have a lot of the same flowers that we do. So when you go there, you feel right at home. So crepe myrtles, I can't remember if I saw those in Japan or not, but anyway, they're classic here, and we're doing Georgia Ikebana, so we'll use it. While the petals don't fall off, look how beautiful. That could be a new art form, just petals on grass. Happens naturally after the rain. Okay, now these are super amazing. Castor beans are a great thing. Look at those balls. Those are amazing, and they stay on there all the way through fall and just get more beautiful. This is pretty insane right here. Boom. Look at that. Another weed called Joe Pye weed. It's a little one, but it's really pretty and doesn't get going until late in the summer. So what you're going to need to do some Ikebana is a frog. In case you don't know what that is, it's a little heavy needly thing here that you can stick your plant material into and it'll hold it upright. Now there's all kinds of these. You can get them on eBay, you can get them on the internet, you can find them at thrift stores. Some have a little container that holds the whole thing that's really handy, and they're nice and hefty, so you can put some decent plant material. This one is super hefty, made out of cast iron, and this will really hold some good plant material. You may also find some old-timey ones like this that I just think are super cute. You can even not put them in a vase, just put them on the table and have some fall grasses coming out for a really beautiful effect. And then if you really want to go full Japanese, keep your eye peeled for these kind of stands, because often they'll put the flower arrangement on a stand like this. In fact, what they most often do is put the flower arrangement in a space by itself against a wall. You always want it against a wall, like on your mantle or sideboard. Just the flower arrangement and maybe a little incense burner. And that's your seasonable thing that you look at and admire and meditate on and get inspired about. So what I'm going to start with first is this beautiful pink ochre, which I've pruned off all the extraneous tissues, dead little branches and stuff. That's what you want to do. Just get it down to the most inspiring parts. And then this is actually a vase that a Japanese potter made. Now, one thing about Ikebana is in nature, there's no such thing as straight lines except for pine trees. But what you're concerned about is nature closer to the ground, where things are tangled together, growing over things, things are underneath. That's what you want to imitate, is the involvement of nature with each other. So instead of planting this straight up in here, I'm just going to get going like that. Now, there's many different kinds of Ikebana, like so many schools. There's over 3,000 flower arranging schools in Japan. and many different ideas about how to arrange. Everything from super elaborate that would take 2 men 2 days to make an arrangement to a very simple kind that we're going to learn that was developed in tandem with the tea ceremony. And the tea ceremony just was so popular. And in the tea room, you just have the place where you boil the water, you have your little tea things, you have your Ikebana, you might have a seasonal scroll that's got a poem about the seasons. And one of the key things about the tea ceremony is taking a break to admire the Ikebana. Usually the guests, they have little snacks, then the guests are sent out to a garden to meditate on the dew-speckled plants while the person hangs up their Ikebana, and then they come back in. Everyone goes to the Ikebana and like admires it and makes appreciative sounds, and then everyone gathers back around the tea pot and they have their tea, which they share. So it's always seasonal. The Ikebana is always like a snapshot of what's going on outside right now. You wouldn't use, like right now is not the time for evergreens. That's what you would use in the wintertime. And here's the other thing. So this style of Ikebana for the tea ceremony is called Nagiere. And it's going to have 3 components. So this is very easy to learn and will work for all your flower arranging. And so what you have is you're going to have a tall one, a shorter one, and then a shorter one that's basically involves 3s and 3rds. That's your key phrase there, 3 things. And you'll have your tallest one. The next one will be like a 1/3 as tall, and then your bottom one in the bottom 1/3. That's just a rough starting point that'll get you going in the right direction. So this one, I'm not sure if that's, you put your tallest one first, so let's just say that's it. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and do morning glories on this one because that'll be so pretty. Now, this morning glory, I'm designing this backwards here because I'm behind it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do next, since I've got the okra and the morning glories and the sunflowers all growing together, I'll just put these in there. Now, for instance, this one has got a broken bud right there. I'll cut that off. You don't want broken or damaged looking things, but like pods and things like that are okay. Okay, I don't think I need this leaf here. Now, so this I want to poke right out the front, so let me cut off a little more. And now I'm going to put another one. Okay, that's a little heavy. Okay, I'm going to never mind about this. A little too unwieldy there. Maybe just part of it. All right, now we're getting somewhere. turn this around and look at it for a minute. Okay, that's getting there. This needs to turn frontwards more. All right, let's see how that looks. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to put one more over here to bounce it a little bit. Okay, here we go. So there's your lifelike, what's going on in the garden now, bug-eaten leaves, rain-beaten sunflowers, and okra that is going to soon turn into a dried pod. But that gives you an idea. It's real naturalistic, and it should almost tell a little story of what's going on out in the garden right now. Like if there was a bee on here, that would be just perfect. All right, now, right now it's sort of end of summer, and we'll do some more end of summer bouquets in a minute, but in case it's fall, don't despair. I've had Ikebana classes out here in the end of November when you think, well, there's just nothing, but there's always something of beautiful form, whether it's a dried seed pod, bare branches, dead grasses, all those are just perfect for fall. And as an example, we have this beautiful dead sunflower right here. So what I'm going to do is just pick off a few of the dead leaves. And in fact, one of the best arrangements I ever saw was a lady did out here. I had one of those giant mammoth sunflowers that was dead, and the whole thing was brown. It was so sculptural, and she just stuck it in a vase, and we were all just like, I mean, that was all you needed. Okay, so for this one, this will be my tall thing. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'll tell you what else is great for fall arranging. This is wild sorrel, and it is great for arranging. I don't think we're going to use it on this one. That's an example of a fall thing. Also, these grasses are perfect. They catch the light, and they just add so much sparkling to your bouquet. Let me see if I can get these separated. Now, also, as far as vases go for Japanese flower arranging, they always use a wood-fired vase. Like the more humble, the better, or a basket. Nothing shiny and new and, white glimmering porcelain, none of that. The whole point of this arrangement is it's just very humble, very natural, very simple. Actually, I'm going to use this because it looks so beautiful coming up right there. Maybe I'll use that other one too. Alrighty, and then seed heads are great for arranging because they are so bold and sculptural and simple. So I'm just going to pretend like this is pretty dead. I'm going to strip off these green leaves. You always want to edit. You don't want anything fussy going on. Like if you have something with bunches of leaves all over it, it's not really going to work. You want to see the line and you want to see the expression of each thing because each plant, each leaf, every petal on every plant has got its own little personality, its own gesture, its own little expression of life force. And it's important to show that. Okay, I'm going to turn this around a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do is cut off this bent one and cut off this facing forward one here. Okay, that's a little too. But the thing about Ikebana is you can have your three things as your starting point, and then you can just go on and keep adding. Because once you've got your structure of your three things, you've got your structure, and then you can keep adding and make the biggest bouquet you ever saw in your life. Okay, I don't really groove on this. Okay, so let's go with our tried and true pokeberries, because in the fall is when they're in their glory. Pokeberries are a weed, and they are so beautiful. I draw a lot of pictures of them, take a lot of pictures of them, and you can eat them in the spring. It's poke salad. Okay. All right, now we're getting there. Now, I don't have anything in this vase to hold these stems in place. So this is a situation where you just get it situated and then you start praying that it's going to all stay in place. Usually, I've had Ikebanas that I just prayed and held my breath and they held together just long enough for me to take a picture. And then they all fell over. So this one's got too many leaves sticking up out of here. All right. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This vase is not really very easy to arrange in. All right, so when you have something that will not stand up, if you don't want to pray, you can get leaves and just bunch them up, roll them up, and kind of sneak them in there behind it for a support. That way it'll stay up long enough for a picture anyway. So that can be your fall arrangement. And we'll do even more folly one here in a minute because I want to use these broom corn. Okay, so now we're going to do a really of the moment, end of summer arrangement with this beautiful Japanese corn that I grew. It's black, and this corn is to make grits out of. So I'm going to make some grits out of this and eat it all winter long. So I've peeled this back to show off the husk because that's so ornamental. And then this is a big, heavy vase here. So what I'm going to do, this is my tallest thing. So you put your tallest thing first. Cram it down in there. I'm going to have it a little off center because, like I say, everything going straight up is not really natural, even though corn does, but it's better if things are unnatural. And also the point about having 3 things, odd numbers are considered by the Japanese to be more natural because 2 things or 4 things just sets up a static relationship. So if you add an odd thing, it always loosens it up. Okay, so that is beautiful. So then what are we going to put with it? Okay, we are going to use more pokeberries now because they're just so beautiful. Now you want to just strip off your really, wet, flimsy leaves. Okay, now I'm going to have to turn this around towards me a little bit and see what I'm doing. Because out in the field at the end of the summer, you got your pokeberries are coming around, got your corn is getting ripe. I want to show off that pretty corn. All right, and this might be a case for grasses or this Queen Anne's lace, which is also going down the hill at this time of year, so it's perfect. This is really going to represent the field at the end of the summer. Oops. Now, that's beautiful, and I've got my 3 elements, but it kind of needs something right here. So I'm going to look at my fall things and see what else, and it might be a good time to use this. Strip off the things I don't need. All right. So there's your big end of summer Ikebana, things going over the hill, things still hanging on, things going to seed. And it's all beautiful. All the stages of life are equally beautiful. That's the main thing we can learn from the Japanese, because in America, everyone wants the biggest, the best, the brightest, the perfectest thing or person or place is always what you want. But things are, it's the whole wabi-sabi, the perfection of imperfection. That's what really charms you, and that's what life is really all about. So this is a real beautiful plant. They also have this in Japan called crocosmia, and it's just naturally Ikebana. It's very sparse, beautiful little flowers. So this is a bronze vase. It's not that heavy, so I'm not going to put anything that heavy in it. And actually, this may be the whole deal right here. Boom. Sometimes things are just naturally in Ikebana shape. Now, what I would maybe do, I think I'm going to put something little right here. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. So this is hydrangea leaves. And I don't want it to overpower that little crocosmia. But what you do want in when you're doing your Japanese flower arranging, where the things go into the vase, you don't want to be seeing a bunch of stems. So if you do have a bunch of stems going in, you want to hide that with a leaf or a flower at the bottom. because you don't want to see the mechanics of the arrangement. You just want to see the beauty. This one seems to be going that way. So what I'm going to do, I'll take this. All right, now I've created a thing where I really need something else right here. So I'll put something right there. Or I can just rearrange this. Cut this off. This is what happens right here. All right. So there you have. So this is your tall part. And you want to get a triangular looking focal point, like the tallest thing, the shortest thing, and the middle thing. It could be any sort of triangle, but the triangle is in nature a lot, and you'll see it. Now, that's your Ikebana there, but you could go on and keep adding things if you wanted to, and just make it a bigger and bigger arrangement. But we'll just leave that one as is. It's like the most instructional or whatever. All right, so here's another lovely wood-fired base I'm going to use. So I really like these. The Japanese have all these amazing ways of taking something like this and like cutting it, braiding it, folding it back on itself, all these amazing things. And really, you can do things to your plant material. Like in the winter, I like to get a real licheny branch that's fallen out in the woods and, put that with some seed pods and, some other little fall thing. And you can even go crazy. This is a stick that I gold leafed just for fun, but I mean, you could gold leaf or straight up spray paint pine cones or sticks, for the holidays or something to make it even more ornamental. And that's legit. I mean, the Japanese are not above spray painting and gold leafing things. Now, I just can't resist the whole idea of this in this vase with that tall thing there, but I have a little too much going on here. Now, mind your opening, because some vases you get all ready to do an Ikebana, but the opening is not really that big, so make sure you figure out how that's going before you start sticking things in. Okay, that needs to be shorter. This could almost be it with one more of these leaves. Yep. Now, this is looking good, but really, this is leaning too far back. In Ikebana, since you always show it against a flat wall, it's meant to be viewed just from the front. It's not like a 3D situation. And so you want things to kind of come to the viewer a little bit as well as interrelating, but you don't want them just sticking straight out into the picture plane. And you don't want them flying off like this either. But maybe I can make that work somehow because I like it so much. Okay. It would be great if they would go off center a little bit. Usually if you just kind of gently bend things, they'll get the idea. Okay, now what do I need now? Now see how that's just about going right there, but what I need is one more element in there. And I think I'm gonna have something that comes out the side here. And either this can be good if it'll fit through the opening of that base. Oops. Close call here. Right. Okay, here's what we need. Oops. I can't even cram another thing in there. Okay, there we go. And this needs to come over this way a little bit. All right, well, this will give you the idea there. So there's your tall thing, your 2/3 of this thing, and this thing in the middle, which is your lower thing. And that's the great thing about Ikebana. You don't need a whole lot of flowers. In fact, the sparser, the better. Now, this is going to be classic because it's already got the beautiful shape. I'm just going to put it down low. I can stab it in there. Okay, that's amazing. Now I need some taller things. And this will be perfect since it's also crepe myrtle. Not positive it's going to stand up. We'll see. Maybe it's better like that. Alrighty. I didn't even use my castor beans yet. I need to get with that. I know that might be done. Now, no, I just said don't have things coming towards you. But you can always fudge a little bit. If something looks right, just leave it. I'm going to cut off these super dead parts right here because they're not really doing anything. Could use something right here. That's a little bit, and that's a pretty color, but it's a little bit too busy right there. Okay, that's crazy, but we're going to use it. That's pretty crazy looking because it's kind of all askew everywhere. But if it works, it works. So don't worry about it too much. The good thing about Ikebana is you start with basic rules, and that's just a launching off point. Then you can just use your intuition and your sense of what looks balanced and go from there. And now I actually am looking at it and I'll just keep going on this one. As long as this doesn't tump over on me. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. If this will stand up. Boom. Okay. And that's a pretty good fall arrangement right there. Or beginning of fall, end of summer. Alrighty. So I hope this has given you a little bit of facts and a little bit of inspiration that you can go out and look at things with new eyes. Look at the beautiful forms in nature, no matter what kind of shape it's in. And I hope you will start doing some of these arrangements yourself. You'll find that it's very relaxing. One thing I forgot to mention, in Japan, Ikebana was a martial art because the samurai, as much as they're beefed up, to fight, Japanese are real big on harmony, like you're in harmony with your environment, everything's peaceful together. And so to have harmony, you have to have balance. So the samurais, as beefy and warlike as they were, they learned Ikebana to bring out their calming nature and achieve a sense of balance in a meditative, creative activity to balance out all the warlike activity. So it's an excellent meditation that you can do on your own. It's just being with flowers and looking at their beauty is going to lift you up and inspire you and make your life better. So I hope that you will get with some flower arranging. And if you want to follow me on R.Wood Outflow on Instagram, I'll be putting up more arrangements, as well as stay tuned to R.Wood Studio Ceramics. We'll likely put up some more videos too. Thanks. I hope y'all enjoyed it.